Released back in 2016, Aragami is a third-person stealth game from developer Linceworks. The game puts you in the ninja boots of Aragami, an undead assassin with the power to control the shadows. He has a host of special abilities at his disposal, and you'll use them to take down the Kaiho, the Army of Light, as you fight to free the mysterious girl that summoned you, Yamako, who also holds the key to your existence. The game has a very stylized look, and it has some nice little touches that give it some personality. There are several different settings to pass through as you undertake missions that range from graveyards, forests, cities, army camps, and more. They all feel slightly different and have different mechanics attached to them to make them feel more unique and not just different looks for the same repeated areas. For instance, in the towns, you can obviously use the rooftops to get about, making stealth a lot easier. However, in the army camp, that's taken away, and things are very cramped with some blind corners, making it a lot easier for the guards to surprise you. Another example would be that the forest is very dark, whereas the interior of a big building is very open and well lit, making sneaking about in the shadows a lot more difficult. Another little stylized touch is the HUD, or rather lack thereof. Your shadow meter and ability amounts are instead found lit up on the cloak of Aragami. The light drains the more you use your shadow powers whilst exposed to the light. In fact, Aragami himself will change looks to give you information too. If you're in the shadows, he will appear all black save for his cloak. However, if you enter the light, you will shift to black and red, which lets you know that you're not hidden. It's a very simple system to understand and helps with immersion, as it's Aragami telling you the information rather than some numbers and overlays on the screen. I'll also quickly note at this point that there are skins in the game that let you change the look of Aragami. They're all pretty cool looking, and there's a few to choose from. The story of the game is simple enough and revolves around Yamako, who summons you and tasks you with freeing her and the Empress from captivity. There are a few cutscenes to watch as you progress, but mostly you'll be reading short exchanges of dialogue. The game is not voiced, save for some short, hard to hear, mystical sounding exchanges in Japanese, which I think actually lends itself well to the overall feeling of the game. I would say the story is pretty basic really, but it does do its part to tie everything together. But in all honesty, Aragami is all about stealth and abilities, and the story is just there as a little bonus for the first time you play through. Stealth is the main element in this game, and I had a lot of fun sneaking my way through each of the levels. You have different ways to tackle each of the zones. You can choose to remain unseen and sneak your way tactically past each guard, or you can choose to take out only the bare minimum amount of people necessary if you find you have no other choice, perhaps after being discovered and forced into a corner. Alternatively, you can become the ultimate killing machine and take down every enemy in a location, and truly purge the world of the Army of Light. I liked having the different options available, and it was a nice challenge to try and sneak through without being seen, or take down every guard without having a body found, or being seen or heard slitting someone's throat. At the end of each level, you're given a score and ranking, and points are given for each enemy killed or left unaffected. You also lose points for being discovered, alerting guards, or dying and having to respawn. There is no real combat to be found, and every kill is a one button press followed by a flashy kill animation. However, that's all that's really needed. It's nice and simple and doesn't try to get in its own way by being too fancy or anything. If you are seen by a guard, you can try to save yourself by running away and hiding, or taking down the guy that saw you. However, if you do take a hit, that's it. It's a one-hit kill and back to the start of the checkpoint, and you will lose points off your score. You start off with a couple of basic abilities, including a shadow step that lets you quickly move between shadowy areas, as well as the ability to make pools of shadows in places of light. This allows you to draw a line of shadow to walk along, as well as make a pool of shadow somewhere bright, so that you can quickly move to a spot that was otherwise inaccessible, and it is very handy to get the hang of. Throughout each level are hidden collectible scrolls, and each of these gives you a skill point that you can spend towards new skills, and there are some pretty fun ones to choose from. There are some basic ones such as being able to go invisible for a few seconds, or mark an enemy with your Shadow Raven. Some more usual ninja abilities such as throwing kunai to kill enemies from afar, as well as some really far out skills such as being able to make bodies vanish into a pool of shadows, shadow traps that suck enemies in, as well as the ability to create a massive shadow dragon that will take enemies away to God knows where. These abilities can also be leveled up using more skill points, and it allows for some pretty fun customization. I had fun with all the abilities I used, and there wasn't one that I didn't find useful at one point or another. Each level you go through will also have some added traps and mechanics to work around, which will get increasingly more difficult the further you go. At first, you just have the standard guards to deal with. Then they add archers to the mix that I had a personal grudge against. After that, they start adding other obstacles such as barriers of light that you have to disable, and floating lanterns that will patrol around zones and expose you and alert everyone in the area to your presence. Most of these are fairly simple to deal with as they come up, and after one or two mistakes you'll learn the correct way to deal with each. There is some good replay value to be found in Aragami. The scoreboard system at the end of each level encourages you to go back and play through again in order to get a better grade. I started setting challenges for myself as well, for instance not killing anyone at all for the whole game, or seeing just how fast I can make it through a level. You can go back at any time and replay through old missions, which is a nice little feature as it allows you to search out the collectibles you missed the first time through, and ultimately unlock more skills to play with. There is also an online co-op mode available that lets you sneak around with your friends, or you can play with completely random people that it automatically pairs you with. I tried this a little bit and it is pretty fun, and it changes the feel of the game a little as you have to worry about other people being seen and not just you. I did run into a couple of bugs, but nothing serious. I wouldn't even call them bugs really, just things to watch out for, mainly surrounding the shadow step ability. At one point I teleported up into an attic and found myself stuck in the roof, unable to move, which forced me to restart the level. And other times the aiming of the shadow step would go a little iffy and not quite land me where I'd aimed, but both of these were very small issues and they didn't really cause me any issues beyond having to restart a checkpoint. Overall, if you're looking for a game that lets you sneak about murdering people from the shadows, then you couldn't really ask for more from Aragami. The abilities are all fun to use and the story ties it all together quite nicely. The environments have some nice variations and different obstacles to deal with, and the character models aren't bad. Aragami also has some nice outfits to give you some semblance of customization. That's just about all I have on Aragami. I tried to keep it as spoiler free as possible. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like if you did, and as always let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's all from me on this one. See you in the next one.